Today we're going to take a look at the 4 different knife sharpening systems that I regularly use. From table-mounted diamond stones, compact field sharpeners, guided ceramic rods, and powered belt sharpeners. Well folks, this video has been a long time coming. I've had a lot of requests on this, and I finally decided to sit down and take the time to really walk you through the different types of knife sharpeners that I regularly use, that I have access to, and why I use them, and who each setup would be best suited for and what are their capabilities, so that you can really make a wise choice when you are into edge tools, hatchets, tomahawks, machetes, or smaller folders and multi-tools, just how to hone, maintain, resharpen, reprofile edges so that you can have the best performance and the sharpest edge at all times possible on your different tools. Because there's nothing more frustrating than getting a tool, getting a knife, getting a hatchet that has a terrible edge on it that you either have to reprofile yourself and not having the right kit for that, and you're trying to use certain systems, you know, that aren't working for you and they're not producing the results that you want. Or on the flip side, having a knife that came with a great edge, but once it dulls, not having the proper tools to get the edge that you originally had on it, and then you're never quite satisfied with the edge, and you're constantly going through different sharpeners and different techniques and spending hours and hours trying to get just a functional tool. That's all you're, deep down, that's what sharpeners are supposed to do. They're supposed to put the edge back on your tool, or put the edge that you want on a tool so that you're happy with its performance. I mean, that's the goal. So we're gonna look at the ones that I have shown you in just in the quick teaser today, but we're also going to talk about other ones that I didn't show you and why I don't use those, and some examples of what I've seen that were great, some that were drawbacks to some of the other systems that are out there that I've decided to pass on and not use regularly. So let's go ahead, break it all down, and show you what tools I use to put edges back on my tools, and which ones I have passed on and why. Okay, I want to start out with the cheapest of the ones that I use, and the one that I think literally every household should have one of these. So this is right out of the gate, regardless if you just got into pocket knives, you have your very first one, you know, you have tons of super expensive blades, you just do kitchenware and maybe a multi-tool you carry with you every day, or Swiss Army knife. Regardless, this one is, I believe, a must because of its value and what it can do for that small price point. And that's the Smith's 3-in-1. They call it their field sharpener. This is not something that I would carry hiking, backpacking. We're going to look at some other options here in a little bit. It's compact, and you could definitely take it like camping, car camping, or like in an RV or something like that, but it's a little too bulky and heavy and doesn't have quite the features that some of the other ones do that I would actually use it in the field. But for a countertop at home, this thing is phenomenal. Now, this is going to run you about $20. All the tools and sharpening systems that we're going to look at today will be in the links over to Amazon as well as Blade HQ. Really helps, and we really appreciate it when you guys use those hyperlinks. Helps me make content, buy stuff like this to show you guys week in, week out. And I've purchased most of the stuff you're seeing today with the money generated through the channel, through the links that you guys use. So we really appreciate that. And check out Knockaround Sunglass Company and backcountry.com as well for a lot of your purchasing and gear needs. It's free for you, helps us continue to make content. So with that, what this system offers you for $20, and sometimes you can get it for a little bit less. I think sometimes you can find them at sporting goods stores for maybe like $15 to $18, is you're going to get 2 4-inch ceramic rods that we'll look at here in just a moment, a carbide V pull cutter that we'll talk about, and then 1 set of diamond pad or diamond stone that is 750 fine grit. So that's kind of what you're looking at, and that is also about 4 inches by 1 inch in length. And the way that this is designed is similar to the Spyderco Sharp Maker that I'll talk about here in just a moment, in that you seat your 2 ceramic rods in right here, and then you run your knives through the center. And that's going to give you a consistent angle. The angle that they've chosen on this, from everything I've researched, is about 23 degrees, which is kind of a unique angle. Usually it's like 20 or 25 or 30. It's fine. It doesn't reprofile any edges. It's going to put a very, very good hair-popping edge on any of the tools that I personally own, from high M390, you know, quality, or XHP, XTP, whatever that one type of steel is, D2 to 1095, to just your basic stainless steels that you'd have on your kitchenware. It works great for all of those options. They also include tracks on these ceramic rods and on the diamond pad to sharpen fishing hooks. So that's another little bonus there. If you're a fisherman, this is a great little tool as well. But man, it puts wicked edges back on my cookware. Somebody comes over, one of my buddies, you know, they have a dull pocket knife, boom, we throw it on this guy, gives them a razor sharp edge very quickly. So I'm not going to go into all the techniques and how-tos. There are all these different companies that we're looking at today have great how-to videos on how to use the products that are more detailed and in-depth than what I can produce for you. So I just recommend, if you have difficulty using them, they're pretty intuitive and pretty simple to use, all these tools that we're talking about today. But this one is very simple. The only drawback is that because these rods are only 4 inches, larger knives, say over about 5 inches in length, so machetes, larger outdoor knives, very long butcher knives, that you can sharpen them, but it's pretty tricky. You got to really keep a consistent angle, and it's not just as smooth a draw to resharpen them as something that was longer, like the Spyderco Sharpmaker that we'll again refer to soon. Now, one point of contention that I have with this design is I hate draw-through carbide sharpeners. They're supposed to kind of like reset the edge for you, but I would never put any expensive knife through that. You know, if you have a horrible edge, maybe on a cheap kitchen knife, maybe a really soft steel like you would find on a lot of like Swiss Army knives, maybe like a Buck 420 high carbon. If you felt like you needed to completely reset the edge, you could maybe use this. It just totally, in my opinion, jacks up most good geometried edges, and I just don't use them. So I don't do any type of pull through like that unless it's just ceramic and that they're very simple, nothing that's like carbide that would try to reprofile an edge in that regard. So this little guy, if you are using the ceramics, works as a little hand guard there as well, which is kind of nice. But then if you're not using that, you can obviously pop these guys out and it'll store nicely in the bottom. So very simple to throw in any drawer, you know, cabinet, whatever it may be, or pretty compact if you want to throw it in an RV or camper, you know, in your big tub that you're going to take back, or sorry, camping. Now with the diamond stone, what's nice is that that is good for those softer steels that you are having chips, big burrs on them that the ceramic rod just can't really tune up. It will be able to handle most soft steels rather well, as long as it's just a simple little tweaking. If you need complete reprofiling of an edge, the 750 fine is not going to work for that. It's really just get the little nicks and burrs and chips that you may have in softer steels out. Harder end steels and higher, you know, performing steels, I would say over really VG10 or 154 CM, anything in higher quality than that, it's not even going to be able to really do much of anything on. So it's definitely more the diamond stone here. For basic, more inexpensive, cheaper AUS 8, HCR, 420 high carbon, and a lot of other just basic kitchenware stainless steels, that it will be able to do some work for you, possibly 1095 if you just need to do some light work on it, but that's about it. So there are definitely great levels of performance for those budget friendly, or you know, just quick running even my super expensive ones on the ceramic rods, just get a really quick edge on it. I'll bust my pocket knife out, you know, if I'm resharpening the kitchenware, I'll be like, oh yeah, I could use it, you know, I'll hit it a few times and we're ready to rock and roll. Or just simple tuning of those more cheap budget friendly tools that are out there. So it's a great option to have, and I think every household should have one of these because it's a great fast way to tune up your blades. Next up, when we're talking about portability, I have not found anything even close to the WorkSharp Field Sharpener. I believe this is the 2.2.1. I believe is the model number. I own about 4 of these, have used them for years, and I love them for many different reasons. The price is great at about $25 to $30. It just fluctuates around in there. So not much more than the last one that we just looked at. That one is really fast and easy though, and you can crank out a lot. This one takes a little bit more time, but it has way more capability. Reason being is that what they've given you with this is not only guided ramps that in the beginning, if you're a beginner, can really help you out when you are learning how to get angles on your edges. Once you figured that out, it's not really needed. It doesn't hinder the tool in any way. But what this offers you is not only fine and coarse ceramic rods, and these guys need to be cleaned. For ceramics, I will usually use like powdered Comet soap that tends to get the gray grit off. Those are the little metal particles. And when it comes to diamond stones, I'll usually just use some water and a little maybe Joy soap, you know, dishwashing soap, and let those dry, and that'll get off all the grit off of the diamond stones. So that's how I handle my tools and clean them up. But you have fine and coarse ceramic rods. You also have one with a track for fish hooks and those type of things. You have a leather strop for finishing, tuning up. Then you have coarse and fine diamond stones that work really well. In the beginning, I actually have reprofiled many very poor grinded larger tools with them. This can handle everything from my 10-inch Essie Hungalis all the way down to a 2-inch, you know, pocket knife, and everywhere in between. Does so much for you and is compact enough to be able to throw in a survival kit, an EDC bag, and take with you everywhere you go. So I love this tool. It has a lot of value and can really handle probably 80% of the work that you would ever need to put on any edge tool, from hatchets to tomahawks to machetes to pocket knives and everywhere in between. You can sharpen up arrowheads on it. You can do serrated teeth with the smaller ceramic rod that they have here as well. So there's so many capabilities, and it works. It just works, folks. Every time I bust it out, I'm so happy that I have it with me, regardless if it's at the house or if it's out in the field. You know, I'll be sitting there and I'll roll an edge really bad. You know, you miss a swing and you hit the ground and you hit a rock and it chips out the blade. I've been able to take out major chips on larger tools with this setup very easily and get a shaving sharp edge in 10-15 minutes max spent with this tool. So very valuable and highly recommended for anywhere and everywhere. Now I'll take a quick break from the two things that I have enjoyed so far and share two tools that I don't use and why. The first off is the Workshop Sharp Pocket Sharpener. This is kind of the baby brother to the one that we just looked at, and has similar idea in that they give you a ceramic rod, a diamond stone. But what I've found is that at about half the price, this usually go for about $15. Again, that other one around $25 to $30. It just doesn't provide enough for me to justify picking up. If I already own the Smith's 3-in-1 field sharpener, that's going to do basically everything that this can do. And then if I already own the field sharpener, it's a little bit bigger, but man, with the leather strop, with the two different grits, both coarse and fine, and the different coarse and fine ceramic rod, yes, it's about double the price, but man, is it at least double the performance without much bigger of a footprint. So for me, it just doesn't make sense to go with this option unless you literally only rock a few pocket knives and maybe a multi-tool and maybe like a Mora fixed blade, and that is it. Then sure, you can maybe pass on the field sharpener and go with this guy instead. But for anybody using larger tools, hatchets, tomahawks, choppers, anything with higher end steels, this is not really going to cut it, aside from just doing a quick tune-up with the ceramic edge or removing a couple little quick burrs. And it just makes sense to invest a little bit more and get something that can handle almost anything that you have in your collection. Next up is the Spyderco Sharp Maker. Now, I have owned one of those and used that initially before I got any of the Worksharp products or the Smith. Because it seemed very intuitive, seemed very simple for me, and it was. It definitely, for tuning up and what we originally said that basically the Smiths could do, it could absolutely do that. Now, I believe their ceramic rods and their different coarse stones that they offer, the rods, I believe they're 6 inches, so you get a little bit longer, better reach for larger blades, which is a good positive. But what I found was the issue is that I could not reprofile any of the tools, even with their diamond rods that they offer, which are ultra coarse. It just wasn't giving me the options that I was looking for. Now, the bonus over the Smiths is, again, the 2 extra inches. You will get a couple different grits that are still in that, you know, V design, and you will also be able to adjust angles. There are a few different angle adjustments that you can do, whereas with the Smiths, it's the 23 degrees on each side, and that's it. So there are positives obviously to it, and if you have the money to invest it, about $50 to $60 just starting, and then you have to invest more for those diamond rods that could actually do some reprofiling, you're definitely looking at $80 to really get a full litany of what the tool or what the Spyderco Sharp Maker can do for you. But I just was not happy with it when it came to any sort of reprofiling or retuning of major damage. If I had a major roll, if I had a major chip, particularly with any sort of hatchet or tomahawk, it's not going to cut it. And if you have to reprofile really any sort of larger outdoor tool, or even, you know, a pocket knife with M390, let's say, steel that it doesn't have a good edge on it, good luck trying to use that Spyderco sharp maker to get a good edge in the geometry and remove steel. It just can't do it, can't cut it. And so I ended up finally selling it off used and don't have it in the collection anymore. And the concept of the V, really quick, you know, just run it on the ceramic rods, is accomplished for me with that cheaper Smiths. All right, next up is the WorkSharp guided sharpener, folks. And the reason that I sold off my Spyderco sharp maker was because I got this, and this immediately outperformed it in every single way for about the initial same cost. And even with the upgrades of more plates that you can purchase with the stropping and ultra fine and ultra coarse and all the different things that they offer, it still is going to be about comparable to what the Spyderco sharp maker. And I'm not ragging on Spyderco or that design, it just wasn't for me, particularly for what I needed. What I love about this system, and what was kind of a game changer for me, is that all of the different, right out of the gate, 3 different stones that were larger than the field sharpener. So the field sharpener from WorkSharp was great, but still, you know, particularly if I had to do a lot of work, you know, maybe I'm resharpening 4 or 5, you know, outdoor fixed blades, and then I'm doing the kitchenware and all of that, it could get fatiguing. It's a small, you know, item that's really best for 1 or 2 tools in a sitting. And it didn't have all of the coarse to fine options that this offered. So they have an initial 3 plate system, and then you can get an extra few, including, I believe, the strop, as an extra add-on for, I believe, like another $20, as this is 50, and then I think it's like 20 or 30 for that. So like $70 to $80 total investment. So right away though, it was much easier for me to reprofile, resharpen, do all the different things that I needed to do with this design. It did have guided ramps for me, or I could completely remove them, which is great. So if I needed that and you're new to sharpening knives, it's fantastic with that. Has a heavier, dense feel to it. Even has a rocking system or a lockout system. So this is locked out so nothing will move, or you can release it and it will rock side to side as you're sharpening and get that very last tip. Again, just great for those people who are learning how to sharpen or have different types of angles that they might be dealing with on the tips of their blades, and they don't want to round off the tip. They still want that nice honed precision. That gives you that option. And for the price of still well under $100, it was able to do everything that I was looking for in almost every category. Particularly putting good razor edges on tools that had been dulled out in the field, you know, large fixed blades. I could do large batches of them in one sitting, and I had so many stone coarseness with the diamond stones to choose from, and the stropping, that it just was so intuitive, so simple, and really changed the game for me of being able to replace my edges or put new edges on them and have a lot of space and a lot of profile to do that. Now, it is a pretty heavy, dense thing that, again, is best for the home, the shop, or like an RV or like a sit-down campsite that weight isn't an issue. I would not be backpacking this thing in. But when you're looking for that and you want that manual control, that was another thing, to get a lot out of manual control, so you can determine how slow, how quick you want to go. There's no power involved, so you know the power goes out, apocalyptic world, you know, you could use this for the rest of your life and get as much work as needed out of this design. So this is really, in my opinion, of all the ones we're going to look at today, if you were just going to get one and you didn't really need portability, this would be the one that I would recommend to you the most. It has the most versatility, the most capability, and can do so much for you, from between starting at about $50 and ending at about $80. So next up, before we get to the last one, we get to our electric powered belt sharpener and the pros and cons to that, and why I do have it and what I like about it, what I don't. I want to tell you the 2 other main ones, and there's plenty. I mean, there's so many companies out there cranking out stuff. There's what is it, DMT, that makes diamond stones. They're great, you know, but there's pros and cons to all of them. The ones that I'm showing you, after looking at all the stuff out there, having had my chance to get my hands on lots of different tools and sharpening systems, these seem to be the most intuitive and connect with me the most, give me the most bang for buck. and I'm always looking for that as well. And so I want to touch on two other main well-known models out there, sharpening systems out there, that I've decided to pass on, and why. The first one is the Edge Pro Apex. This one is definitely a higher investment. I believe it starts out minimum, I think, is like $150, and you can go well into the $200 to $300 range to get the different stones and angles and all those that you need. And I really like some aspects to the device, but it's a very precision device that for me, after using that last one that we just talked about with the WorkSharp guided sharpener, I didn't see a need for that. I didn't need that level of precision. I felt like I have enough capability with the WorkSharp guided sharpener to get shaving sharp, stupid edges on any tool that I currently own, in the knife realm in particular. The Edge Pro Apex can be even more precise. You can get it down to an exact angle. You know, you are eyeballing a lot of it still with the WorkSharp, whereas with the Apex you can actually set the angle, and then you know you're hitting that exact same angle over and over again. So that is a major positive, but I believe unless you are really working on some premium steels a lot, or you have some sort of precision that you're trying to hit that's beyond the usability and going beyond usability, you know, like you don't need performance necessarily, you need like precision, then the Edge Pro Apex makes sense. But for me, it's just not what I need, or I'm looking for, or feel the need that I need to invest in, having the tool kits so far that I've shown you. And there are drawbacks to the Edge Pro Apex as well, because it does need flats on the back spine of the pocket knife, multi-tool, or fixed blade, that most knives will have somewhere that you can rest it on, but not all, particularly if they have, if you like a lot of buoys and clip points and, you know, daggers. The Edge Pro Apex is not going to be as intuitive for you, because you do have to have flats to rest it on and clamp down and you know, do the work that you need to do. The other one is the Wicked Edge, and I've had a chance to not only demo at many different expos and things like that, the Edge Pro Apex, but also the Wicked Edge. And I know the Wicked Edge will put a ridiculous Wicked Edge on your tools, and if you don't want to use a belt powered sharpener to finish off blades, maybe you're a manufacturer, you're a mid-tech, or even a custom designer of knives, and you're going to use it to get your initial angles, but you want that like mirror polished edges and just phenomenal, and you're going to be doing a lot of knives, then the Wicked Edge makes sense to you. But it's a major investment. I believe it's several $100s to get the initial. Yeah, I'm looking on Amazon right now, and it looks like, yeah, they have a Pro Pack that's $700. They have an initial pack that's like $475, a $900 pack, and a $414 seems like the deluxe holiday special. $414 right out of the gate minimum. So I mean, for many of you, you're never going to have a knife collection even close to the value of $400. So why would you invest that much money? So I believe the Wicked Edge is really for someone that needs absolute precision. Again, you know that you're hitting those exact same angles the way it works. You know that there's no guesswork. You know that I'm doing a 19-degree angle on both of these with the strokes, and you have the need to do a lot of ultra precision edge work with a lot of tools. Then the Wicked Edge absolutely makes sense, and it is a phenomenal tool, but it is such a major investment. And again, for the way I use my tools, the way I work, the types of tools I'm using, it just doesn't, I don't need to invest that level of money for what I use my tools for in the edges that I'm looking for. I'm very happy with the edges that my tools that you've seen so far, my sharpening systems that you've seen so far, can produce for me. As there's, again, a slew of other companies out there. If I ever discover new stuff, and I want to hear from you in the description and links below, if there are things that you're like, dude, you got to try this out, it's changed my life, I'd love to see it, love to hear about it. These are just the ones that seem to work for me, that have been consistent. I've tried Lansky guided sharpeners. I've tried all kinds of different, types and brands and manufacturers out there over the years, and these are the four that I've landed on that just seem to work. And if at any point in time I find something new, or you guys find something new, I want to hear about it, try it out, and I will obviously let you know in the videos that we produce here week in, week out. So finally, let's look at electric belt powered sharpener. The WorkSharp Ken Onion Edition is in the house. Now, I've been looking at WorkSharp's, plugged in powered sharpeners for a long time. They got lots of different options, lots of different capabilities, and I've never quite pulled the trigger until the Ken Onion came along, and I was like, I gotta have it. I gotta have that, gotta test it out. And I am extremely pleased with its capability because it has so many different angles, options, attachments, accessories, the ability to change so much on it so you can get the right angle, all the different belts that they have on it. This thing is a beast, and what's great about it is that it is phenomenal for working on the tools that the other kits that we've talked about so far have a hard time with, particularly tomahawks, hatchets, large machetes, and yard implements, meaning like shears, the blades of your lawnmowers, different things like that that you may have issues with the stones, the diamond stones, because I can put a decent edge with the guided sharpener on, say, like a dulled out tomahawk or a hatchet, but it takes a very, very long time. It's very tedious, and I never get quite the edge that I want with those tools. It's close, and it's doable, but what really this does is a game changer for those type of tools, larger tools particularly, camp knives, machetes, and all the hatchets and tomahawks and axes, that I can put a stupid edge on them in the exact angle that I want. I can reprofile if I need to. I can freehand if I need to. I can guide it if I need to, and really get particularly the angles that I want on my blades. Now, the areas that I still see a little bit of trickiness with are pocket knives. Pocket knives, they're smaller blades. You have to really kind of hone your skills. I would definitely recommend, if you're going to buy one of these, is buy one or two ultra cheap, like buy like a gas station, pocket knife, and buy, like maybe, I don't know, some $10, Walmart fixed blade camp knife, so that you can just get an initial feel for them and really figure out, so you don't jack up a $100 knife that you've invested a lot of love and use in right out of the gate. Because if you don't know what you're doing, because of it's powered, it speeds, it's sparks, make sure you use your safety glasses and don't have stuff, because it'll throw sparks that could catch on fire or whatever. Know what you're doing before you use it. Watch all the tutorials that WorkSharp offers to you. But I've really been happy with that, and particularly when you're buying certain blades and you get the knife, it's a larger knife, let's say a machete or something, or a hatchet. You're like, dude, this is a terrible edge. Boom, you bust this thing out, you're gonna get like the best edge ever on those type of tools. You can reprofile. That's really a big one for me too. Reprofiling when the edge is really bad, you can back it up and bring it to a geometry that you want, that's really gonna work well for you, where it could take hours and hours and hours of work on one of the tabletop ones that we have already looked at. So that's what I really appreciate, and that's where I tend to use it the most. I don't bust this out when I need to do a bunch of pocket knives unless I'm reprofiling them, or they've just been totally marred up and need to be a total rework. Is the only time that I'll really bust this out. It's more when there's major damage on larger tools, and I know that it's going to take me an hour or two on the tabletop stones, and it just makes more sense to use the belt grinder. And I believe initial investment in that guy is, I think, over 100, it's like 120, 110, something like that. And then you can get extra kits and belts and all that type of stuff. They have they have other less high-end ones that are like $50 you can pull through. Again, I would rather have the manual capability of, if I'm gonna invest like between $40 and $60 in a sharpener, I would rather have the guided sharpener that we talked about earlier, because I have control over it. It doesn't require power in case, again, emergency situations or whatever, and I have more control over every aspect of the technique, whereas how can I say this? These belt sharpeners, in my opinion, are more like bulldozers. They will absolutely move a lot of steel for you and reprofile and resharpen a lot for you, but they're not always as precise as the manual stones are when you are trying to put edges on certain tools. So that's it, folks. I hope that this video has just been informative, helped you out, shown you what I'm using, why I'm using them, who the tools would best be suited for, and the sharpening systems would best be suited for. That's what I want to do in this video, to point you in the right direction. So hopefully you have some good ideas on what one you need. And for me, ultimately, I think if you're like, I don't want to invest all the money that you're talking about, dude, I just need one or two, I would either, if you don't need portability, again, go with the tabletop guided sharpener from WorkSharp. If you need portability and you're not worried about too much resharpening, go with the WorkSharp field sharpener. Both are phenomenal, but this whole setup is really the jam for me, and I don't see any need at this point to invest in more expensive or in different types of sharpening systems out there. I'm happy with the systems and what they have to offer. So as always, check us out on Instagram, Facebook, all the social media. You're gonna see videos all the time and updates and photos and upcoming videos over there. Different way to interact with me, contact me in those ways. You can subscribe if you're not a current subscriber. We're throwing up videos like this every single week. We invite you to become part of the GT family. If you are a current subscriber, make sure you hit that bell icon so the videos are gonna show up in your news feed. And finally, guys, always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared, and we'll see you out there.